Hello again everyone, and welcome to Nid Bashing, where the Nid stands for Tyranid and the bashing stands for Kitbashing. That's right, it's time for a sort of sub-series to this silly little channel of mine, where I'm going to be looking at Tyranids in particular. Now, Tyranids are my biggest army in 28mm. I have several display cases full of them, as well as several really useful towers full of Tyranids of various shapes and sizes, all the way from 2nd edition all the way up to 10th edition. At some point, I'll do a big army reveal. I think I do owe it because I've hit the various sub counts that I said I would hit before doing a big army reveal. But again, they're in all kinds of different places in this house, and probably some even still in my parents' house. I haven't lived there in about 15 years. So, you know, I've got a lot of these gribbly guys. But this part of the series is going to focus on epic scale Tyranids, because I've got an awful lot of those as well. They're in a lot more disrepair than my 28mm ones, but I want to use them and I want to build them up to a force that can be used either for Net Epic, Epic Armageddon, Epic 40k, or even proxying in to a Legiones Imperialis game. But because I'm me, regardless of scale, things have to have some kind of kit bash. To give you an idea, I've just got a little handful of some of my kit bashes from my 28mm. So here is one of my special Hormagaunts from my old kill team. His name's Pigeon. As for reasons you could probably see. He's a 3rd edition model, but I did a little bit of kit bashing and reposing to have him sitting on top of a lamppost. I've got these little guys who are just waiting to get rules again. These are Shrikes, but converted with Vargeist wings and old 2nd edition Tyranid warrior bodies. The plastic ones, not the metal ones, because then they'd be too heavy. I've got over here, this is a Maleceptor that I wanted to float. I didn't like the fact that the Maleceptor was supposed to be a giant zoanthrope, and yet it had massive claws, so I've kind of tried to make it look a bit more zoanthropy and a bit more obviously psychic, so that's fun too. The biggest thing I do with my kit bashing is I try to make modern kits look like the old kits. So there's upstairs, I'm not going to get it now because it's who knows where. I've got an old one I made out of the current, still almost 20 years old now, current Carnifex kit that does the rounds on Reddit every now and then. So yeah, that's mine and is upstairs somewhere. But I've also got a couple of Hive Tyrants here designed to look like the original Hive Tyrants. So this is a new plastic kit, but I made a little bit of kit bashing and sculpting to have the venom cannon on one side rather than being held across the body, and similarly have the sword and the whip on one side as well. So there's my Hive Tyrant, and my Swarmlord similarly is based on the original artwork from the 2nd edition Codex, and he's there trying to, and the thing with the Swarmlord is I wanted him to be a lot bigger than the other Hive Tyrants because he isn't usually, so I've stuck him on a rock, bulked out his torso a bit, given him these Tyrant Guard shield pauldrony things, given him as many swords as I could, and a nice brood claw, dead Terminator, because obviously you need a dead Terminator on the base. And I sculpted him some extra armor panels on the back. Again, just to make him look more like that 2nd edition Codex cover. And just for a full blast from the past, here is the original Tyranid, just called Tyranid, which I've never used on the table. I want to. I'd probably use him as a pyrovore because of the base size. They're weird looking creatures, the Progenitor. I'm always on the lookout for those. This isn't an original. This is a resin reproduction cast from the original. So it's not a fan sculpt. It is a cast from the original Progenitor. but the advantage of it being resin meant I could get a little bit more dynamic posing out of it, and I didn't feel quite so bad trimming down the teeth and giving it a little extra little bit of pizzazz. So yeah, he's on my collection as well. So that's the 28mm stuff, but what I want to talk about is the Epic stuff. So I went online and I went to eBay and I bought a job lot of Epic Tyranids, because half of these are broken, half of them are unusable, half of them are in weird odd numbers. In here, I don't know what's in it. Again, it was a job lot. It was just a whole bunch of Epic Tyranids. It cost me about £35, which isn't bad for Epic Tyranids. Much better than lots of these Hierophant brand new in boxes that you often see on eBay that go, well, they don't go for £150. They're always listed for £150. If you look at sold and finished listings, they never go for £150. So I don't know who they're kidding. But I also don't want brand new in boxes. I want pre-loved ones so I can chop them up and move them around. So yeah, I'm always on the lookout for more Bio-Titans at epic scale. So let's see what I've actually ended up buying. Inside this half box we have bubble wrap and one of these old plastic compartment boxes. So let's see what I've ended up actually getting. See how much of it is useful. See how much of it needs a bit more TLC than others. Now, from this particular era of Epic, the person who sold this to me had these. It used square bases. Epic's had a few different guises throughout the years. Currently it has round bases, as we know and love from Legions. I think once upon a time it had perfectly straight rectangular bases with little dudes all in a line. But from this particular era, they were 5 to a base in little squares. So there are some little hormagaunts there. Now, I'm not fussed if these come off the little round bases, because I'm going to stick these on Legions Imperialis bases. Yeah, lots of lovely hormagaunts. They're going to go on with my collection of hormagaunts. Currently, I think this is temporary, but I've currently stuck my old hormagaunts on MDF bases. But I expect actually I'll put my Mechanicum on MDF bases and sand them so it looks like Mars, you know, just to be classic. And then I can use the Mechanicum Legion Imperialis bases for the Tyranids and have them overrunning a city. When it comes to using them with Legions, someone on the Discord asked me, are we pretending that the Tyranids attacked during the 31st millennium, or are we setting games in the 41st millennium? And to that the answer is, who knows? So much of the games in the Heresy are non-canon anyway. Like, for example, I'm fairly certain in the Heresy Fulgrim wasn't killed by being run over by a Spartan tank, yet that certainly happened in a Horus Heresy game of mine. So, you know, swings and roundabouts when it comes to how accurate the games are. So I don't think there's anything wrong with playing either a Vanguard Splinter fleet that maybe was ahead of the Hive Fleet Behemoth that an unlucky Solar Auxilia team happened upon in the early days of the Heresy. Or maybe we are placing this in the 41st millennium or close to, and we're seeing far more modern Space Marines against more modern Tyranids. Speaking of which, here are the Tyranid warriors. And I think here is where you really appreciate just how amazing the new machining and new sculpting is. Even with the worst undercuts in the world, then like a modern model is going to be way better than the old ones. Like this guy's leg, one of the legs is just fully flat on one side because they were molded directly into halves. And the same with the Gene Stealer arms. One of those arms is just fully flat on the other side because that's what they were able to do. They still look pretty good because they're teeny tiny, but you know, anyone who's complaining, oh, there's undercuts, who cares? You've got far more poses and far better looking models now. It's much better than just having the same pose again and again and again and again and again and again, and they're all being really, really flat. So, you know, appreciate what you've got. 3D print if you must, but that's not what we do here. So, Tyranid warriors, looks like 5 of those. So it looks like 5 of each. Let's see if that goes Gene Stealer wise. Ooh, missing a Gene Stealer there. I wonder if they're in there. I've got loads of spare Gene Stealers. It's not the end of the world. 5 bases of Gene Stealers. There's a Lictor. That's what the old Epic Lictors look like. Great little models. I love that the feeder tendrils worked out to be just a single tongue. I don't know if you can see that. Just literally one tongue sticking out of his mouth. Still, you can tell what it is. It's obviously a Lictor. Can't be anything else. Five Lictors. So yeah, when it comes to the plastic models, we have 5 of each. These were all the plastic Epic models. They came on a single sprue, a bit like the infantry sprues now, where you got, I think on each sprue you got 1 of each set. Interestingly, I can't see any termagants in this, which is unusual. Because there are more termagants than anything else. Thankfully, I've got more termagants than anything else, so it's not the end of the world. But interesting that all of those are included in this and the termagants weren't. Wonder what they were used for. I hope they were used for something fun. In the metal side of this thing, got some Hive Tyrants. See how he compares. Oh, basically the same. Wonder how many Hive Tyrants. So we've got Hive Tyrants, put them there. That's one Malefactor, also known as a Salt Spawn. They're the Tyranids vehicles, transport vehicles. I know it's weird to consider the Tyranids having transport vehicles, but they did once upon a time. Don't forget they also had envoys once upon a time. So, you know, fluff changes. Hear that, internet? Fluff changes. Just because something was in the fluff 20 years ago doesn't mean that's now the case. Exocrines used to be big slug things, and now they're big giant carnifexes. Things happen. Everything is canon. What else we got here? Because some of them have got Dactylus arms. I wonder which one's Dactylus. I don't know the bodies well enough to be able to say. Maybe there's just spare arms, because I'm fairly certain these are all... Yeah, because the Dactylus don't have these fins. So maybe I've just got a couple of spare Dactylus arms. Well, I guess that's the fun of buying a job lot. You never know what you're going to get. You might just get some random Dactylus arms. Still fun. So, random Dactylus arms. Have I got enough arms to make all the assault spawn? I think that might be the one downside of this. I think maybe there's not enough arms. There's enough arms to make one, and maybe with a bit of bashing we could turn one of those and get a second one out. Yeah, the other two, it looks like they were being used as Dactylus because we've got the spare arms. I can show you a Dactylus. This is what the Dactylus looks like. They don't have the fin on the top. Still, 2 assault spawn is not to be sniffed at. And they're all kinds of different sculpts as well. 4 different sculpts, which is nice. So I get to play with those. I'll put those bits over there because they're going to be useful later. Another Hive Tyrants. That's 2 Hive Tyrants. 3 Hive Tyrants. It's a good number. Looks like we've got 3 Zoanthropes as well. These are the original style Zoanthropes, back when they had legs and big round heads rather than floaty limbs and big long heads. Looks like we've got a couple of different designs of head though, which is nice. Something vaguely predatory about those old style heads. See, even in the days of metal, we had multi-part infantry epic models. And finally, here's the fun bit, which, to be honest, is probably worth the price of the whole kit by itself. We have a Dominatrix. Don't demonetize me. It's just the name of the kit. And it doesn't mean what it tends to mean nowadays. So these were sort of the envoys of the Norn Queen before the Norn Assimilator and Norn Emissary were things. Big sails on its back, because why not? There's his head. So here we've got all the parts of a Dominatrix, which is good. And if you want to know what it looks like when it's put together, it looks like this. Don't know what that paint job was about. I apologise profusely. It will be being repainted. And at the time, that was absolutely huge. You know, that's twice as tall as a Hive Tyrant. Goodness, when will they ever release something as big as that? Nowadays, that would be tiny. If they ever redid the Dominatrix, and every time they renew, I hope they do, this would have to be absolutely enormous. Which is probably why it never was released in resin, because it's a chunky model. It's not like the Hierophant, which, you know, is massive, but at least is spindly. So when it was made into resin, that was doable. But even being smaller than the Hierophant, that's a lot of resin if they were to make it out of resin. But hopefully now we've got better plastic. Maybe we will get a plastic Dominatrix in 15th edition or however long it takes. So yeah, that's what came in today's little box. I think it was worth it because 3 Hive Tyrants, 3 Zoanthropes, and a Dominatrix, and that alone each probably would go for 30 if it was in good condition, still in a box or blister pack. So the fact I've got those, plus 5 Lictors, plus 5 bases of Hormagaunts, plus nearly 5 bases of Gene Stealers and 5 bases of Warriors, and bits of various Assault Spawn. Yeah, I think that was a good haul. I always like to keep an eye out on eBay, just in case anyone's selling job lots. Generally, I find job lots are much better value than buying individuals. On the downside is you don't know exactly what you're going to get, but you know, you can get lots for relatively little versus, again, if you buy a brand new in-box Hierophant, at the moment they're being listed up for about £150. Do not buy them for £150 because they're not worth that. They are regularly on there. There's like 3 or 4 on there now. So why they're on there for 150, I have no idea. I don't think anyone's ever bought one for that. But they are interesting and they are cool. So I've been working on a sort of proxy list for these. Originally, I thought it was going to be Space Marine based, but now we thankfully have the Mechanicum with their Cortex controller rules, which are a lot more synapsy, so I'm going to be basing it on those. There are some really good homebrew Tyranid rules out there that I heartily recommend using in friendly games, but I do want to make one a kind of full proxy kind of reskin of the Mechanicum, as it were, so that they can be used balanced by Games Workshop with the biggest bunny ear quotations in the world. But still, as intended in rules, even if not as intended with models. So yeah, that was the first kind of laid back nid bashing. At some point I will show you the whole of my absolutely nonsense Tyranid collection. I have far too many, but I have been collecting them since I was 11, which is about nearly 25 years, which is depressing but also fun that I've had a quarter of a century of these little buggy boys. They are good. And you wonder why I never do loyalists. I'm a Xenos at heart. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you to my subs. Thank you to my Patreons. Thank you to everyone who likes and comments. Liking and commenting is good. And yeah, that was a fun little sojourn into the world of epic scale Tyranids. And I look forward to taking a few more into the world of epic scale Tyranids as we work together to create a usable epic scale Tyranid army. I can show you, I'll leave you on this, that I've been trying to recreate that in the same way I tried to recreate this iconic cover. I've been trying to recreate the same cover but in epic scale. So at some point I'll finish that, but I need to know how I'm going to paint it because there's a lot going on such a teeny tiny base. But still, size is no barrier to kit bashing. I think that's the moral of this story. And on that note, peace and love to all of you. I hope you have a very peaceful, restful, whatever time of the day it is, wherever you are. Everyone be excellent to each other, and I will see you next time. And please, please, please do keep on lip bashing. Bye.